Welcome to another edition of Bars to the Bricks Prison Ministries, Valley of the Bones podcast, and ULC of Kincaid. I am your favorite felon, the Rev. Dr. Kev. Today's video is one that is necessary, yet at the same time, it's kind of hard for me to do because I get tired of explaining myself and stuff like that. And, of course, people, I produce stuff for them and all that if it's necessary. But here's the thing. This video today, I kind of want to aim at our youth. And in general, everybody, but a lot of our youth, because this video, I want to tell you about myself and some of the decisions I made as a kid, and at 48 years old, still answer for it. So, before we get into this, please like, share, subscribe, comment. Keep the comments respectful. I'm not going to entertain arguing. I'm not going to entertain hate speech or anything like that. I will simply just block you. So, go back about 48 and a half years ago, Wichita, Kansas, 1974, September 17th. Wesley Hospital, there was born a child which thou is well known now as Kev, or the Rev. Dr. Kevin, who is known now as a good person to those who have known him since he's changed. There's a whole other Kevin that a lot of people don't realize existed, a very dark, a very evil Kevin. When I was growing up, I was a kid, my parents divorced at 4, and I'm not blaming any circumstances for my behaviors by any means, but my parents divorced when I was 4. It was a very nasty divorce, very bitter. They went back and forth, used me as a pawn. My mom was horrible about it. She would hound my dad for more child support so she could buy nicer stuff for her, or a nicer car for her, or something. And when, she'd say, well, it's for him, it helps him, but, the other one worked fine. We didn't need a new one. Why make my dad pay extra money for nothing that we didn't need? But anyway, that's here nor there. I started out, like 6, started smoking cigarettes. Really dumb idea. Of course, I didn't inhale and stuff. I'd steal cigarettes here and there and run off and hide and think I was slick, and I really wasn't. About 9, I started smoking marijuana. And, it really, in a lot of ways, I chilled out for several years until I got into junior high. And I don't know what it was. Like, 8th grade was just that was like my turning point. Up to that point, I was honor roll student, always, this and that. I got in trouble. Don't get me wrong, I was in trouble, but I still got honor roll student, and I usually didn't get in a lot of trouble at school. I was mainly at home. But, I, 8th grade, though, I started getting into experiment with heavier drugs, got into a crowd that was about on the same level and maybe even more trouble than I was at that time. And it really, it was like a turning. I started skipping school. I started, like I said, using heavier drugs. And if there was something that could get me high and it was put in front of me, I was trying it. And I had started drinking way young. My dad let me drink. He let me drink like 10, 11 years old. 12, he was buying me like beer and wine coolers and stuff. And so, drinking wasn't it was like, I get to do that all the time anyway. My dad was an alcoholic, so I really didn't, I was like, I'll never be like that. In some dumb, stupid way, drugs were different. I would make an excuse. Well, it's not alcohol. It's not there. I'm there for my kids. This and that. And because I was the unusual tweaker, but I'll get to that shortly. Anyway, 8th grade, I meet this girl, we'll call her Jennifer K. And I mean, we had seen each other, spoke, the little bit type of stuff, and but we never talked until we had a group of friends we're both kind of shy, and we had a group of friends that was together, and we met. Anyway, long story short, we'll skip ahead. I was 15, almost 16. Jennifer was 14. Also, I failed to mention her father was a Wichita police officer. Anyway, we ended up, of course, kids doing the stupid things we do. We had sex. We had unprotected sex. She ended up pregnant. I got charged. And I guess it's better than her dad shooting me. But even though we're both underage, in the state of Kansas at least, I'm sure it's probably that way a lot of ways, the male is considered more mature and this and that, I guess, and responsible. I took a plea and probation and everything, and I was already in trouble with the law. I'd had a lot of assaults and batteries, and I shot a kid when I was 12. I was horrible. I was a horrible kid. Like I said, I was always in trouble with the law. But, didn't think a lot about it, pled out and all that. My attorney's like, hey, it's no big deal. It happened, Of course, attorney's my godfather. And I didn't think much about it, and I went on my life of drugs and stupidity. I ended up going, I did go to prison for that one because it was supposed to be probation, but then I got an aggravated burglary and all that, and they sent me to prison. And they sent me to prison for 4 to 15 years. And I was a kid. By the time I went to prison, after all the sentencing and everything, I was 17. I was a kid. And they introduced me into the Kansas penitentiary in the early 90s at 17, when the penitentiary was rough. I mean, even at the roughest moments we've had it, before I got out and all that, I would still take that over the roughness of the 90s. It was bad. But anyway, like I said, I was a dumbass. And the burglary, aggravated burglary wasn't just a burglary. I stole like 150 guns. It wasn't just like some burglary. It was guns. So I mean, I was lucky. I was a kid, and the feds didn't take it. I got out in 1994. No, 93. I got out in 93. And I went in, first they sent me to the penitentiary, then they sent me back on what they call 120-day callback, which they don't have them anymore. If you're doing good, whatever, they call you back to court, and they can reduce your sentence. Well, that's what they did. Like I said, my attorney was my godfather, and he was like one of the state's top attorneys. I'm not going to put him out on blast because, well, he's passed away, and I want to honor his memory for one, and he was good people. But Vern was just, I'll say Vern, that's his first name. That's as far as we're going to go with that. But he got me called back. I got it 1 to 5, and they was like, oh crap, we shouldn't have sent you to prison. We should have sent you to YCAT under DOC custody. So then they sent me to YCAT. And I completed YCAT, went through, I did really well. I only had 1 point loss, and that was a group. I didn't have any personal like write-ups or anything during that time. I did really good. I had a lot of like immediate respect because when I came into YCAT, they had me in KDOC Greens, prison Greens, adult prison. So they were like, oh, whoa, and like you, I was like, yeah, that's where I was just at. And so they I didn't have no issues, and I'm people person anyway. And but anyway, And a lot of, I don't know. So I got out, um, got off parole in '96. I was married, had a couple of children out of that marriage, um, was doing real well till I was facing a bitter, man, it was a bitter divorce. And again, no excuses. But, and now throughout this time, I still smoked weed that whole time. After since I was off parole, but I stayed away from everything else. I did great. And 2003, about Christmas of 2003, um, I went to a buddy's for a Christmas party, and I was in just a crap mood. I was in a big battle with my ex over my kids. It was getting really nasty. My kids were at their mom's. I was stressed. Again, no excuses, but just had one of them F it moments. I just didn't care. That night, I picked it was a light bulb, spun that bulb. It was over with. Curtains. My successful life was done. I still had custody of my son Joshua and joint custody of Harley. And then in February of '04, I got a call from Harley's sister and telling me one of her friends, from my ex's sister and one of her best friends, telling me that Harley was being abused. First reaction, especially as a dad, well, go take care of him. Thankfully I had family and people around to stop me from doing it the way I wanted to do it, and I went and done it the right way, went through the courts and everything. I ended up with sole custody of both kids. And I don't know how. I mean, she wasn't fit, but I really wasn't either. The only thing that made my house a little better was my biological mother had seen the decay in my life and all that, and so she had moved in and we lived in the same house, and she was there for the kids and stuff. So, but nonetheless, my life had just went downhill, and I was not fit. Somehow the court, and I guess a lot of it was I spent almost $20,000 in getting custody, but money talks in the courts, unfortunately. However, I started getting just so deep into the drugs by this time, and me and my dad co-owned the tax accounting business. We had 2 offices in Wichita. We had an office in Halstead, and we had an office in Marion. And I had my construction business, half a dozen employees underneath me. I didn't want to go to work nowhere. I didn't want to do nothing. I wanted to get high. That's what I wanted to do. And so the last tax season, I kind of screwed off. I wasn't there like I should have been, all that for my dad to help him. Especially as co-owner, I kind of left it on his shoulders, and that was wrong of me. But that's what dope does. We don't think about what everybody else. We think about us and getting high and what's best to accommodate that at that moment. And and when you're high, you think you're getting stuff done. You think this and that, but you're really not. You're really just, the only thing you're getting done is destroying your family, destroying yourself, and everything around you. That's all it is. It's destruction. But anyway, so I started cooking. I had a buddy that, here, I'll teach you how to cook, this and that. Well, at first we was doing it at his house, because I had kids, doing the cooler. And well, his landlord had went in and got nosy, opened the cooler, was not very happy about said cooler in his apartment. So obviously he was asked to, he was given an awesome chance. The landlord was cool in the fact that he's like, check this out, this has to go now. I don't care where, I don't care how, but now. And I don't want to see nothing like this again. Didn't kick him out, didn't nothing, you know. And so, I mean, that was cool. But genius me, we decided to move everything to my house, and this is right after 4th of July and of '04. I mean, everything's going as good can be. My aunt got killed in a, I mean, not this part isn't good, but my aunt and uncle got killed in a accident on Highway 50, 4th of July 2004. They were smashed between two semis and they went up under the semi in front of them, burst in flames, killed on impact. But I was real close to my Aunt Sherry, and so along with her two kids, I got a settlement. I was included in her will, and she had a nice will. She worked aircraft all her life, saved money, multiple retirements. Anyway, here nor there. We sued the DOT for the accident because they didn't have proper caution signs and warnings, because it was around a bend on Highway 50, and there was no signs to slow down until it was kind of too late for some of them truckers. So we won a suit there, and of course split it 3 ways. And you know, the smart thing would have been, hey, let's quit doing dope. Let's take this money, invest it, and pay attention to our businesses and live life great and be successful. But that's not what happened. That's not what happened at all. I blew money. I bought everything I could see. If it was something, a toy or a electronic, or, well, still kind of a toy, but I bought it. $14,000 plasma TV, stupid. RV, you know, a couple $100 grand, freaking jet skis, bass boat, you know, it was dumb. And you know what, how much of that I have now? I don't even have a hood ornament or a cover for one of this, none of it, nothing. I have nothing. So I let drugs overtake me, and here we go cooking and selling and just going along. And this person I'd known for years, as long as my ex did, we both, my ex went to the same high school, so we knew a lot of the same people. And, but anyway, he bought some dope from me. He bought an ounce of ice. He called me 30 minutes later. Like, man, I just got hit up by all the homies when I left here, and I sold it all. Can I get another one? Didn't think a thing about it. Sure, roll on through. Man, it was right after that. It rolled on through. That was, I wasn't talking to the police, but evidently they thought I was talking to them, because the police busted in and busted me. And of course, my mom opened the door and let them in. But they would have come in anyway, I guess. But anyway, during the search, they, of course, with the drugs and everything and the amount of ads cooking dope, when they come in, they found the cooks, they found the weed, they found the coke. I was in a lot of trouble. Under Kansas law, when they make a bust like that, they can seize everything until you can prove it wasn't purchased from drug money. The house was saved because my mom's name was on the deed, because I'd had her on the deed because I got a cheaper loan because she worked for Bank of America, and I could prove it was paid from the lawsuit, as well as my vehicles and stuff I ended up proving. But I had a computer and everything, and I had saw this 2020 one night in, hell, I don't know, probably October of '04, about the internet porn industry and how it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. And most of the pictures are not copyrighted. That's why you see the same ones on every site. And tweaker genius me saw easy money, a quick buck. The numbers started running through my head. Man, I called Dell, ordered me a brand new badass computer set up for gaming and web design and all that. Started creating my own web page, going through the internet and just saving pictures to my hard drive. Didn't think nothing about it. Don't get me wrong, I was about 30 at this time, 29, 30. Don't get me wrong, when I'm going through this, I'm looking at some of these images and some of these, I'm like, man, well, they're awful young, but they're 18, it says so on the website. You know, it says barely legal, so they're just, you know, but I kept going. My drug-induced mind kept going. Not even thinking. When I got busted, they seized that computer that was open to the Microsoft front page. I was sitting in the county jail, booked on a buttload of drug charges, facing about 60 years. I got into a pod. They called me down to Proviz. I'll go down there, and then they say they take me down to booking. From there, they take me over to the sheriff's station, to the interview room. And this detective walks in, and he plops these two pictures down on the table, and he says, "These yours?" "Not that I know of." He said, "They were on your computer." I'm like, "Oh, well, probably." So I explained what I was doing. And he said, "Well, you're a 17-year-old in that picture." I say, "Who, what?" There was supposedly a federal database that these two pictures hit on. Out of the 3,000 and some images on my computer, these two images hit up on as being underage and identified, supposedly. Of course, me being me, I'm like, man, I didn't know. And I was like, they're on my computer, then yeah, I can't deny. And I thought my life was over. And then I go back to the pod. And I say that, I like my life's over because, remember, I'm a parent. I'm an uncle. Never would I ever do anything to harm a child. And now, I had this charge over my head. And the charge on his face was sexual exploitation of a child. Visual medium under the age of 18. In Kansas, there's under 18, under 16, under 14. Nonetheless, even if it wasn't intentional, I felt like I'd hurt a kid. If those kids were indeed 17, what if they didn't want to be in those pictures? What if someone paid them for them pictures with drugs or something, or they're into drugs so they don't get high? What if someone forced them into it? Uploaded the pictures without their permission, or whatever. Here I furthered their victimization. That really took a toll on me. And at that time I was into drugs. It took me, honestly, it was like a week before I come off anything. I felt horrible. jitters. Then I slept for a couple days straight, and it just. But when I started feeling again, like off the drugs, and I looked at that paperwork, I wanted to fall over and die. I really did. And there was a couple of people, it's county jail, you're not hiding nothing. And on the news, KSN, and I didn't know I could have sued back then, but KSN had put on the news that like they had busted some child porn ring, like I was in there taking pictures of little kids or some crap. I never met one of them people in there, and it don't make it any different, but like I told that detective, and I told the judge, and they said I was minimizing. But I said, the website said, all models over the age of 18, proof of identification on site. And he said, well, do you have that proof? I'm like, well, no, but you can track where those images came from. Anyway, long story short, I was telling you, then the guy said it's not time to give up. It's time to fight. I'm like, man, I don't even have it in me. And I've just ruined my life. And because me and Jennifer met deal when I was a kid, 15 years old. Automatically, you're guilty of the next one. Don't matter. That's what they were telling me and everything, of course. And at that time, I didn't know the law. My godfather was no longer practicing law. Anyway, I was facing a lot of time over this, and but he convinced me. He's like, do you love your kids? I'm like, well, of course I love my kids, man. I almost want to punch you in the mouth for saying that, just even asking. I mean, of course I love my kids. And that's why I'm so distraught. It's not me as much as it's what's this going to do to my kids. And he's like, well, then fight for him. So that's what I did. Shortly after, I was in probably, it was like February or March. Well, it was at least mid-March because Dennis Rader, BTK, had been moved into our pod, and he was in our pod when the paperwork was filed. I remember I used to talk to him all the time, and I was telling him about it. But my daughter Harley is not biologically mine. She's a product of an affair because my ex, kind of her legs like Quick Trip. They kind of open 24/7. But I shouldn't say that. That's mean. It's here nor there. But anyway, she's biologically not mine. That's my daughter. That's my little girl. My kids were 6 and 8, by the way, at this time. And actually, Josh just turned 9 because his birthday's actually it was 7 and 9 because Harley's birthday's in January and Josh's in February. But anyway, paternity paperwork was filed for the donor, and I fought it. And they're like, you don't have a leg to stand on. You're being convicted of a crime, a sex crime against a kid. I'm like, yeah, but it ain't like that. And my attorney's like, yeah, but everybody looks at everything the same. It's, across the board, there's no differences. You know what? I said, well, I'm not giving up. I wrote a letter. I sent it to the judge. Took responsibility for everything. Why not? It's my responsibility. And told him, like, look, I love this girl. I would never do anything to her kids. Please look at the facts of the case. Please, please. And don't make a blanket judgment. The judge did not. I was granted paternity over my daughter. God's awesome. So I fight my case, and well, I didn't really fight my case. I was in county for like 11 months, and I ended up taking a plea for the 2 images. Up 256 months total sentence. So, you know, it was like, well, shit, 21 and a half years, 21 years, 4 months, 21 and a third years as a sex offender. Because they dropped all the drug charges and all that, because the feds were talking about picking everything up. Because everything, all of my charges could have went federal. Scared me. Little did I know I should have went club fed, because there was a principal in an elementary school in the Kansas City area taking pictures of little children in his school, on his school computer, and got busted. He only got 3 years. This maggot is on the streets sooner than I was. He was victimizing elementary little kids. It's irritating. I watched other people, pedophiles, that just molesting little tiny kids and get out right out and everything. And it was so irritating. But yet, you know, I kept like trying to find the best out of the situation, make the best out of the situation. I never gave up. Part of the reason I haven't made this video before is just about what I'm getting ready to tell you. I got tired of explaining myself. I got tired of carrying my paperwork around. I went behind the walls hutch, and I had an old number. That established me a little bit, but yet they knew why I was there. When I started producing my paperwork, I was highly accepted. Because the fact that a lot of people were like, oh man, I could have went to jail for that too. I've been searching some sketchy sites on the streets and, you know, but it don't make it right. So once I was established, I got tired of explaining myself, and then I just got to where, you know what? I am. If you like me, you like me. If you don't, you don't. I don't care. I don't even care. I'm tired of explaining myself. And my actions, even then, I was still crap until, it was long after I got to El Dorado. I started changing my ways around. I think it was after I met Eric. Really, Eric has been so beneficial in my life in so many ways. And it's such an unusual connection, isn't it? Eric went to jail, went to prison for 11 years for taking a pedophile out in the woods and shooting him. Later died. But yet this man accepted me knowing what my charges were. Of course, I had explained to him, you know, it was after a little while, he never even asked. And I think I don't remember how it came about, but we talked about and explained everything. And it really, after, of course, I knew what he was in prison for, it kind of made it okay, but I knew Eric. And it was just kind of like, man. But I started changing, and I started like really in 2010. I got the president's position of the JCs, and about 2009 is when I really started making more changes and teaching classes and getting involved and helping people and realizing that it's not the monetary or the getting high or whatever that's important in life. It's people and making a difference and helping other people and making other people's day just a little bit better. That's what life's about. But this is important to know, people. For all you kids out there, listen to this right now. This is very, very, very important. Careful of the pictures you send back and forth that you think are innocent to your boyfriend, girlfriend, friend, some random person, whatever. That's even worse. You can go to prison for that. You know, you are guilty of producing and dispensing child pornography, even if it's of yourself. Your person you're sending it to is guilty of receiving child pornography. They are guilty of asking for it. Even if they're the same age, it's still child pornography because you guys are children. Protect that innocence. Don't rush. life's hard as it is. There's no need to rush. You know what the dumbest thing I've ever said in my life was, I can't wait till I grow up. Man, now I wish I could be a kid again. But anyway, let me finish this a little bit. I fought and fought. I never gave up. I learned legal work. I learned how to fight the law myself. I learned how to, I helped a lot of other people get out of prison. And I'm like, damn it, why can't I help myself? And there's not always help for everybody. I don't care how good attorney whatever is, or how good a prison attorney you are, or whatever. Sometimes the charges are just the charges. They're legal and everything's legit, and you're stuck. You're beat. Do the crime, do the time. And now, don't get me wrong. I still felt like I deserved time. I still beat myself up today over this, and just the dumb decisions. I face this every day. Thankfully, I've been fortunate. I'm pretty outright with people too. I don't like, hey, I'm Kevin, this, that. But after I get to know somebody, especially before I'm doing any hangout, like, well, buddy, as soon as he said something about me talking to his boys, I said, okay, hold on. This is something you need to know. And we were sitting in my office. I was doing his taxes. And I pulled up all my stuff. And I told him, I explained everything and all that. And he was like, man, I hella respect that. And I'm like, that's only, you need to know. And that's for my protection too, it's just you. And, but anyway, so I fight, and I finally get back into court on a loophole, essentially. When they changed the law to non-person felonies in Kansas, there's qualifications. Some crimes didn't have any person felony qualities to them, like burglary. In Kansas now, burglary of a residence or an occupied dwelling is a person felony, whereas an unoccupied business, like a building or a business, something like that, as long as it's a business unoccupied, it's still it's a non-person felony. But there was no distinguishers at that time that made one worse than the other, so they couldn't. Later on, it's called ex post facto, is for another, basically, in a roundabout way. They can't make a law that goes back, changes or worsens a law from before and make it retroactive. So they had to take that person felony off of me and resentence me. Well, and my attorney, I got this amazing attorney, Jason Smart. I'm going to put him out there. Bro is a public defender, too. I mean, one of the best, hands down, attorneys in the state. Dude is amazing. God bless me, like, man. So anyway, I get with Jason, and we go 2015. I go to court. No, 2017. March of 2017, I walk into the court. Gave back all my time. Was 7.5 years over my time. Should have been immediate released. However, that did not happen that way. Sedgwick County's piece of crap prosecutor, Mark Bennett, who should never be voted for again. He's personally a piece of crap. He's out for his own statistics, not for what's right and what's wrong. But so he's just, but anyway, he just thought, since, well, I had a case when I was a kid, got this sex case, well, we should commit him under the Sexually Violent Predator Act. Wow. Now I'm looking at a life sentence. Literally a life sentence. This isn't a program. It's a jail. They call it a program, but nobody ever gets out. And to be honest, most of them dudes, I don't want out at all. I don't want them around my kids. They get out, they can stay way the heck away from here, because I don't want to have to go back to prison over one of my kids, nieces, nephews, or one of the kids I know, or something like that. I'm not doing it. I'm very protective over children. Even some of these kid channels online, it irritates me when I see people preying on these kids, making inappropriate comments to these kids. I don't play the whole crap against women and kids. I really don't. I don't like that. But with that, of course, I went back to my pod again, devastated. I was going for an evaluation. I had a chance. But nobody beats this thing. Nobody beats this thing. That's all I'm hearing. And so I'm like, man, just trying to pray, trying to stay positive, and well, that was rough. But then my attorney that they assigned for me on that case, I couldn't have the same attorney because it was civil, and where my other case was criminal. So my attorney, I walk into professional visitation with my attorney. He pulls off his cowboy hat, throws it down on the table. Says, all right, I'm your attorney. I don't hope you're not expecting to effing go home and beat this thing, because most of the time you don't win. I'm like, wow, bro. I don't know that I want you representing me. And he's like, oh no, I'm not giving up. He said, we're going to fight it to the death. He said, we'll fight to the death, but I'm just letting you know. We don't have good chances. He said, we do, but we don't. He said, it's all going to depend on you. I'm like, that's awesome. So fought, got the evaluation. They sent me up to the loony bin for the evaluation, and I'll never forget this. I go in for the interview thing. I can't remember what the LSI or no, I don't remember what. It's some kind of an evaluation, like from a forensic psychologist and this and that. But anyway, this dude looks at me and he's like, Mr. LaBelle, I've been over your case and over your case and over your case and over your case. Why are you here? All I could do was laugh, people. I just laughed. I'm like, what you mean? I don't want to be here. You talk to your people. And y'all got me here, not me. We went through the interview, discussed my past, my drug abuse history, the whole nine. They sent me back to Sedgwick County. My attorney came in and he said, first of all, he said, let me tell you, he said, after researching your case a little more, he said, you've got to be one of the dumbest idiots I've ever seen. Like, wow, thanks. Appreciate that. And he's like, no, really. He said, why did you plead to them pictures? I said, what do you mean, why did I plead with pictures? They said that they hit on a federal database. There were 17. I had possession of them. I was in the wrong. Why wouldn't I? I mean, I stand it. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And no matter how much I don't want to stand up or something like that, but I was in the wrong. And he was like, well, what if I told you you probably weren't? I said, how do you mean that? I said, I mean, that it is what it is. It is what it is. And I was wrong. And he said, well, first of all, he said, there is no federal database. He said, you're an idiot. He said, they took a stab in the dark. You had a prior offense. There was no drug and violent offender registry at that time. He said, this way they can keep track of your trouble. But because I have over 30 felonies over my lifetime, like a dummy. I was a kid. I was an idiot. And I'm still, no excuses. I was a dumb kid. Not a very intelligent adult for a lot of evidently either, huh? But yet, he's like, that, he said, here, he said, have you ever looked at your registration paperwork? And I said, I have not. I said, I signed it. He said, you didn't pay attention to what it said? And I said, kinda. He said, did you look at the charges? I said, I did. He said, did you look at the descriptors of the charges? I said, I did not. He pulled it up. Crime. Sexual exploitation of a child under 18 years old. Convicted. Convicted in 2005. Age of victim, 17. Sex of victim, unknown. How are they unknown if they hit on this database? But you know what, at that point, I was just like, Ernest, it is what it is. And I still was facing a lot more time with them drugs. I probably wouldn't be sitting here talking to you today with even having a half a chance. And he said, oh, you got more than half a chance. He said, you just blew that exam out the way, the interview out the way. the water. He said, you have a 0 as a recidivism score, literally 0. And he said, he said overall recidivism is a 0.5, but recidivism SO was 0. I was like, well, that's awesome. Now what? He said, well, now we go to court and we ask for it to be dismissed. Glory be to God, December 22nd, 2017. I was granted my immediate release from prison after 13 years and 1 day. During that time, I had to fight to visit my kids because I was seen as a weirdo. I was a sex offender. I was dangerous. I fought and fought, and I won, but it was not an easy fight. Still today, you know, and it's easy for me in a lot of ways. People, there's been instances where we was in El Dorado and one of the other groups, not my group, but one of the other groups, was going around just gonna beat up sex offenders. All right, well, I know most of them I don't have much love for. Some of them did some really bad things, and I try not to judge them. That's God's job. It's hard, especially when you have children. And like when I was at a visitation with my kids and something, you better not come up and talk to my kids and my family if I don't speak to you first and invite you over to the table. I don't care who you are. That just, and that same respect is go for everybody else. And to this day, I don't talk to people's kids unless they, you know, especially obviously I gotta protect myself with everything, you know, but still, those decisions I battle today. Decisions after those decisions. I'm trying to get back into the DOC, into the prisons, so I can help spread this word, change lives, and give people hope. But because my dumb butt decided to start an organization with some other guys in there, I have a gain point. Albeit the organization was started for positive reasons, it didn't turn out that way. Still those decisions. So I hope I still have some people's attention by this far, because this is important, kids. Pay attention to this real quick. So I was in jail in Sedgwick County with a kid. I say a kid, in jail, yes, a kid. He was 16 years old. 16. I know a lot of you, I support a lot of kids' channels. Anything in kids that's positive, I try to support and promote. If you're not doing something positive, I'm not trying to promote you, because this world has too much negativity. But if someone's doing positive, I don't care, kid or otherwise, I'm going to try to spread your word and promote it, because I want positive change in this world. And we have some youth that's very promising for our future. But this kid was 16. He's facing multiple life sentences. You wanna know why? Probably thinking, well, if he's facing that much time, it's got to be something serious. He was sending nude pictures back and forth on Snapchat with his 16-year-old girlfriend. Snapchat, they periodically run these filters or these searches through their database. Those two pictures came up, and they had saved them on their eyes only or whatever on Snapchat, the private thing. They'd saved some of these. Now that 16-year-old girl and that 16-year-old boy are facing multiple life sentences for distributing pornography, child pornography, receiving child pornography. And, you know, it's sad. It's sad. Kids, live life. Have fun. Don't rush to grow up. Take it from this old man. Drugs is a very, very terrible path. It will not lead you to anywhere positive. Unless your cocaine, methamphetamines, and stuff like that, no place in anybody's life. I'm really not a marijuana. I really don't. There's a lot of medicinal purposes and uses for that. As long as someone's not abusing it and taken away from their kids or their family or whatever, then I don't see an issue with it. I actually, honestly, I have more of a problem with alcohol because I grew up with an alcoholic dad. I lost a friend when I was in high school, a freshman in high school, to a drunk driver, got hit on the side of the road changing his tire. I almost lost another friend to a drunk driving accident when I was an adult, when I was incarcerated. But, well, and my aunt, the guy, the truck that hit my aunt, had been drinking too. He killed her and my uncle. But, like I said, for obvious reasons, this wasn't an easy video to do, and I didn't want to start out my channel with, hey, I'm a sex offender, because it's not well received in a lot of ways. People, I wanted to prove through my actions and through my character a demonstrated time where people can see who I am, that I'm not those charges. That is not me. And I know everybody that has those kind of cases, I heard every excuse in the book, from I didn't do it, it was a medical exam, she's mad at me, you name it. I've heard the excuses. But I got paperwork to back it. But, you know, I just don't really, like I said, I don't run around letting people know. I let people know that need to know, and I guess now everybody knows. But that's okay, everybody knows anyway. People, I'm sure some of you watching already know. You've already researched me, but you were thinking the worst. But you're probably conflicted because you know me, and you're like, dang it, I kind of like this guy. I don't seem like him, but I don't know. Hopefully this will set your mind at ease. Probably going to lose some subscribers over this. I may lose some friends over this. Anybody who's my friend is going to be there anyway, because they know who I am. You guys, just be as positive as you can in today's world. It's hard. Nothing in life is easy. Life's a struggle. But I tell you what, those life struggles and those fights, they're worth it. When you seek the rewards of being faithful to God, being faithful to yourself, trying to help other people, I promise you, you will find more rewards in the helping others and making somebody smile than you will having a pocket full of money. Money and material things don't mean nothing to me. My bank account has 20-something cents in it. The ministry account, maybe 12 cents. God provides. God provides. With that being said, if anybody would like to make a donation to the ministry, please feel free to do so, and I will make sure that it goes to good use. If there's any specific uses, the stuff we do in the ministry that you would like to see the money go towards, please make a note of it during your donation. I hope everybody has got something out of this video. I hope maybe if I reach one kid, that just takes that second thought before they send that picture, before they go off and be promiscuous, can change the rest of your life. I'm not the only person in the world. Probably not the only person in the world to voice this. Let's not add on to the world of trouble. A few moments of pleasure can cause you a lifetime of pain. Let me say that again. A few moments of pleasure can cause you a lifetime of pain. Be wise in the choices you make, because the choices you make affect you not only today, tomorrow, but in the future. May God bless each and every one of you. Please stay on the straight and narrow. You got parents at home, love you, are there for you, appreciate that. Some people don't have. Some people don't have any parents to go home to that care. They're high, they're gone, they beat them, they abuse them in whatever manner. If you got parents, even if they're like overprotective, super strict, enjoy that. That's because they love you. And this is a dangerous world. I have grandkids, nieces and nephews, and youngsters that I deal with in the community and stuff that's in this world, and I'm scared for them. I'm scared for all you guys. Our future is just horrible if we don't change, if we don't change now. Remember, be the change you want to see in the world. Just like us here at Bar Spirits Ministries, we strive to be that change that we want to see in the world. Everybody have a blessed day, hopefully more blessed than stress. Your favorite villain, Rev. Dr. Kev.